I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up, then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest is David Meltzer, chairman of the Napoleon Hill Institute, former CEO of Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, and a guy who's lived the full cycle. Millionaire in his 20s, bankrupt in his 30s, and now more successful than ever in business and life. David made his first millions young, lecturing globally and winning at everything he touched. But something was missing. As a millionaire in his 30s, he went on a rapid downward spiral that ended in bankruptcy. It was rock bottom that forced him to figure out what actually made him successful in the first place. He rebuilt using 4 principles: gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication. Now, as a 3-time best-selling author, keynote speaker, and business coach, David mentors everyone from college students to C-suite executives. His mission is simple but powerful. Make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. David, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Do Hard Things podcast with Gabe and Lexi. We are so pumped. We just heard your bio, David. We're so excited you're here, man. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
I could not think of a better show to be on because I talk about all the time. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And I love to do hard things and can't wait to talk about why I love to do hard things.
Awesome, man. Well, we can't wait either. I mean, so many people know your story, but there's so many people that are new on our show that are hearing you and seeing you for the first time. So I'd love to start with your origin story. Where did you start? You know, where did that rise come from? Because you became a millionaire in your 20s, which is epic. But then you went through some hard things, and then you did it again and again and again. So walk us through what drove you to succeed, especially so quickly at a young age.
Well, first of all, I think it changes. And early on, it was attaching myself to an outcome. That's what drove me. And the outcome was to be rich, to buy my mom a house, to provide financial security. I grew up with a single mom. I'm still, tomorrow is the anniversary of my mom's death. She'd been gone a year. Sorry to choke up, but I'm still a 58 years old mama's boy because I had such an extraordinary mom. And the only time I wasn't happy as a young kid with nothing, we were on food stamps, 6 kids, single mom. My mom worked 2 jobs, 2nd grade teacher, packed my dinner in a paper bag in a country Squire station wagon, and then filled up turnstiles at convenience stores with greeting cards. She couldn't get credit because in the early 70s, you needed a man to co-sign in order to get credit. You couldn't get a credit card. I'm old, so these are things that people don't realize. And my mom would not take help from her family members that could give us financial support. So I was going to do it. And that's what drove me. but it also turned into a really bad behavioral system for me, a behavioral pattern, because once I made all that money 9 months out of law school and bought my mom a house and a car, I didn't know how to change my behaviors. I didn't know how to change what got me to where I wanted to be. And I had some lessons to learn, some really hard lessons to learn from the time I actually did what I dreamed about doing that drove me through law school and 9 months afterwards to be a millionaire.
Yeah, moms really are the rock to so many of us, and thank you so much for sharing that. And you were lecturing around the globe, winning in business, making millions. From the outside, it really looked like you had it all, but you said something was missing. What was that?
Um, I was trying to fill a God-sized hole with everything but God. Um, so I was buying shit I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. And my entire identity. This is true and it freaks people out, but embarrassingly enough, I'm going to tell you that I literally, when I got married, my wife would say to me, "What's the matter?" And I'd say, "My bank account went down." So it was worth at that time over 100 million, right? Well, how much did it go down? Are we in trouble? No, it went down like $250. She's like, "And you're upset?" I was like, "Yeah, it went down." My entire identity was tied to this bank balance. My entire identity was tied to how much money I could make, not for the sake of what I was making it for. See, once I achieved for the sake of what I was making money for, I had nothing to make money for. I didn't need anything. I didn't want anything. And so this identity problem grew this hole and created behaviors that were no longer aligned with my divine direction. They were aligned with behaviors that were interfering with my divine direction, my potential.
Oh my God, this is so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing, man. So you're in your 30s, you become a multimillionaire. You went into a rapid downward spiral, and that added, ended in bankruptcy essentially, right? So
Over
walk
$100
us
million.
through that. What
Lost
happened?
everything.
Yeah, what happened there? Was there mistakes? Was it timing? Was it market? Was it you? Like where did that go?
Well, I'm completely accountable, first of all. And, we're here to learn lessons. And what happened was I thought that I was in control. I thought that I had the wisdom to continue to make money and I was going to always make money and it was never going to stop. But I never thought that faith would be a component to my success. I never thought that I needed anybody's help, let alone to have faith in something bigger than me that would protect me, promote me, love, and perfect me, that I was Midas. I remember the night I came home from lying to my wife and she telling me, to my complete surprise, 5:30 in the morning, I lied to her about going to the Grammy Awards with Little John. I lied to her about a bunch of other things. And I came home wasted at 5:30 in the morning. And she said to me, "I'm not happy. I'm leaving you. You need to take stock in who you were and who you want to become, or you're going to end up dead." I remember putting my arms around to the side and saying, "Are you kidding me? Look who did all of this. Look who did all of this. I can't believe you would even say that to me. How dare you? F you." And I stormed in my room and I woke up in the morning hating the four people who love me the most. Hating my father, who gave me a jacket 6 years earlier, told me that I only cared about money and money would never buy me love or happiness. And I was just like him. And I remember telling him I hated him. He was a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, back end seller. I was nothing like him. And then my mom telling me I was lost, telling me that I had lost who and what was in control. I remember her telling me, I put a sign up to remind me every day here in the back of me. This is what she told me all the time. You're either humble or you're about to be. And I told her, how dare you? I did everything for you. What are you talking about? I'm lost. You made $17,000 a year. I've made that in a minute. Who do you think you're talking to? And then my best friend told me he no longer wanted to be my friend because of who I was hanging out with and what I was doing. And I told him, oh, I'm not doing what those other guys are doing. And he told me, you can lie to me, but stop lying to yourself. You're going to end up dead, brother. I don't want to be around you. And I told him to F off. And now here was the fourth person. And so as I sat on my bed the next morning thinking, I hate my dad, I hate my mom, I hate my best friend, and I hate my wife because everybody else loved me. Or did they? They loved the cars and the planes and the parties, and I was running the most notable sports agency in the world. So I was a rare creature that not only was I super rich, but I had access to what billionaires couldn't afford to do. Sidelines at Super Bowls, locker rooms, and backstage at the Grammys and the Oscars. And I remember looking at that jacket, looking at it and breaking down still today and thinking to myself, "Whew, I don't hate my mom and I don't hate my dad. Certainly don't hate my best friend nor my wife. I hate myself." And that's the first time I told myself the truth, that I was a liar. I was a cheater. I was a manipulator. I was the overseller, the back end seller, and I hated myself. And so I took stock in who I was 18 years ago. 18 years and 2 months ago, I took stock in who I was and what I wanted to become. And I started to practice it. And it was hard. It was hard because you can't find outside of you what you can't see inside of you. And I had a lot of inside work to do. For 18 years, I've been doing that work, and it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And you rebuilt using four principles: gratitude, empathy, accountability, effective communication. Why those four, and how did you figure out that those four were what you needed?
Because those are the four things I took stock in. Those were the four things. My mom named me purposely David Meltzer, beloved servant. She would tell me, you need to live up to your name. You need to live up to your name. You need to be grateful. If I wasn't grateful, my mom would send me back up to my room when I was a child. She would say, you got to find the light in it, son. You got to find the lesson. You're here to learn lessons. Lessons are going to keep on coming until you learn them. You got to learn them. And you got to find the love in everybody. And then she taught me forgiveness, empathy. She would say, oh, you don't forgive other people because they deserve it. You forgive them because you deserve it. Put yourself at ease. Gratitude will give you the perspective, but it is the infinite that is there with you. And if you're not at ease, you're not taking advantage of the infinite amount of energy, the infinite amount of love, the infinite amount of intelligence and intuition and inspiration that we are part of. You have lost your faith. And then the easy one for her was always I had to be accountable. She would say, you're living below the line, blame, shame, and justification. You're responsible. You're attracting it. You're participating in this perception. You need to figure this shit out. And then finally, to be an effective communicator, actually change, because when she talked about it, she talked about in the relationships that I had with others to be an effective communicator. But what I didn't understand till later, which happened the day I told my mom I lost everything, I truly learned that last principle or value that I have. I went up to my mom. I lost everything, including the home that I bought her. I did not take my name off of her title. So the bank repoed her home. And I walked up to her door, and you can see I'm very emotional still today. So you can imagine 18 years ago what it must have been like. And I said, Mom, and I started to cry like a 4-year-old that can't get it out, And when she's like, oh my God, are you okay? Is Julie okay? Are the kids okay? Yeah. Well, what's the matter? Mom, I lost everything. I lost your home. You need to move. Oh, oh, well, how can I help you? I'm like, no, Mom, I don't think you heard me. You, you need to move. Oh no, I heard you. Do you need some money? I'm like, Mom, I swear I lost your home. I know. Are you okay? What can I do to help you? I'm like, Mom, I I don't think you realize you need to move. She goes, I do. I go, Mom, why is God punishing me? She looked at me and smirked. Here's a woman that just was told that her son had lost everything and she had to move. And she smirks at me and said, oh, God doesn't punish anybody. He's protecting you. He's promoting you. He's perfecting you. You got to figure this out. And I'm here to help you, sweetheart. I love you. I said, Mom, I don't believe in God. She smirked again and she said, Oh, son, you believe in God. You just believe in the wrong God. And that's when I realized that what she meant by effective communication when I was young was to connect to the infinite, abundant, unified system of thought that we all belong to, something bigger than you that loves you more than your mom, and then communicate that to others. So not only was I seeking wisdom, which those four values helped me, but it was faith, wisdom and faith that would shorten the distance of resistance that I was creating in my own life.
Unbelievable. I swear my mom and your mom would have been best friends. There's so much
That's a
so
compliment.
much similar. Yeah, there's so much similarities. Like she, retired school teacher. My dad died when I was 2, raised 2 kids, put herself through, college after having those 2 kids and her husband, killed, tragically and suddenly. And then, becoming a, amazing human being in regards to the, she's a deacon in the Episcopal Church. She retired from school teaching. She's so well respected. It's unbelievable. Back when I graduated college, I was also lost, not knowing what to do. And she gave me some material that really got me. It was a Zig Ziglar book. And it was about, he always said back then, this more than anyone is, if you help enough people get what they want, you will have everything you want. And you say something very similar too. You're on this mission to make a lot of money, but also to help a lot of people and to have a lot of fun doing that. And most people think, you have to pick one of those or two of those. How do you actually do all three at the same time?
Well, I think the key is making a lot of money. I think people don't understand the difference between infinite and man made constructs. I think the saying that the more you give, the more you receive is confusing. And I'm sure your mom, Gabe, told you that, knowing who and how she came from. But what our moms didn't understand is that it only is true the more you give, the more you receive in the infinite. So, love, the more love you give, the more you'll receive. Automatic. The more kindness you give, the more you receive. But money and time, those are man made constructs. 24 hours a day is made up by man. Dollars are made up by man. And I promise you, the more money you give, you will not receive. It's a man made, it's not infinite. And so, why I, joking all aside, like I'm so just in the man made human experience, make a lot of money for the sake of helping a lot of people and have a lot of fun doing it. Enjoy what you don't like or love about what you love. See, people say, well, when you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Work is hard. That's why they call it work. See, what's really hard is what I learned by being a below average college football player. Because in my life, one of my greatest loves is football. And I don't know what that says about me, but for whatever reason, that's one of my greatest loves. But when you are a below average college football player, you need to learn to love the things you don't like or love about what you love. And there was a lot that I had to learn. But that capability to learn to love the hard shit, the shit that you don't like or love, this was the secret sauce about having fun. And so for me, I never met anyone and still haven't that makes a lot of money for the sake of helping a lot of people and can enjoy what they don't like or love about making all that money that isn't happy. That is the secret sauce. Those are the ingredients. And so it doesn't happen though in the man-made construct unless you make a lot of money. You cannot help as many people as me if you don't have as much money as I have.
Yeah, totally. And I'd love to dive a little deeper into the whole make a lot of money. You unapologetically talk about wanting wealth. Why is it okay to want wealth and be rich? And how do you not lose your soul now trying to build up all that money?
Because it's out of faith. It's an illustration of faith that I make a lot of money because I now believe there's more than enough of everything for everyone. And as long as I have the right intention, the definiteness of purpose of what I'm going to do with that money, then it is actually a constitution of faith that I'm here as the hands and the feet of God. I'm a distributor of what God wants me to have. I'm his son, and I'm here to make all that I can and give it all away for the sake of helping other people. See, here's the loop that happens that people don't understand, Lexi, is this whole idea of giving money to receive it isn't true. I studied all religions, spiritual texts, philosophies, and theories about this. And it doesn't say the more you give, the more you receive. You know what it says? The more you give, the more you will be given. And when you use gratitude to see all that you're given, see, when you talk about the hard stuff, the reason it's hard is that the evidence that exists today is not aligned with where we want to be or better. So I'll use an analogy. I diet all day long. I step on the scale tomorrow and I expect the scale to go down. Well, my behaviors today have nothing to do with the evidence that's in the morning when I step on that scale. I'm sorry. It will 10 years from now, right? It will aggregate. So I need to look at this, the behaviors, not the outcome, because the evidence is usually contrary. This is the way the universe teaches us. The evidence today is usually contrary to where we want to be or better. And it's testing us to make sure we have the behaviors to get to where we want to be. You see, God's not going to invite you without there's no invitation from God. You're not going to get a calling from God without him knowing your limitations. So without God's not going to give you an invitation without knowing your limitations. And so it's going to be hard. And when you realize the evidence today is contrary to where I want to be, it has nothing to do with me getting there. What has the only impact of me getting there is, will my behaviors align with where I want to be today, or are they interfering with where I want to be or today? And that's what I teach people, to categorize and recognize behaviors each and every day and maximize the amount of time that we spend in alignment with our divine direction and minimize the amount of time that we spend interfering with it.
I love this. So let's move on to the second frame of this, unpacking it. And I'll tell you a little bit more of my story. My mom always used to say, similarly to yours, I'm sure, service to many leads to greatness, right? And so when we're talking about helping a lot of people, so when I started off in my sales career, I was the top producer in my company. I came in guns blazing. I was just great. And then what happened was I was promoted to a manager, because a lot of people think, oh, when you're good, you got to be a manager. So I recruited all these people and they quit after 6 months. And I'm like, I can't do this. I was like on the verge of just quitting myself. And the reason why I continued is a mentor of mine. And he said, Gabe, what you're doing is you're expecting your team to do what you can do, but you're not helping or serving or supporting or training or mentoring your team what you're capable of doing. And when that instantly happened, everything changed for me. So a lot of people are listening to us who are sales leaders or sales development reps or account executives or heads of sales, CROs in the sales world. Is there anything you could do to unpack it a little bit more tactically when it comes to helping a lot of people part? And what is that actually look like in the day to day?
Yeah. So first of all, we need to help people take inventory of capabilities. We have to have them take inventory of their skills, their knowledge, and their desire. And then we help them. We're facilitators. That means making it easy, right? Facilitators, easy. It makes it easy to align what skills, knowledge, and desires you have with what's doing well, what's stable, and what you think is going to be doing well according to the subject matter, topic, or expertise. And this formula of understanding and aligning people to take inventory of the skills, knowledge, and desire and see where you can help. Because some things, I divide it as teachable or unteachable. And so it helps to manage the expectations of the person and the leader when we go ahead and decipher, this skill is teachable. Are you willing to learn it? Or, hey, this skill is not teachable. I have you in the wrong position because you're never going to learn it. This is not a teachable skill. I can't teach you it. And we don't have the time for you to experience it, because experience is a private lesson that has an indeterminate amount of time, and it's usually happens slowly, then all of a sudden, and I don't have time for that in the sales position. And so for me, it's aligning skills, knowledge, and desire with what's doing well, what's stable, and I think is doing well, making sure I'm putting the people in the right position and they have the desire to progress, to improve all three: skills, knowledge, and desire. And I had a very similar situation. I was thrusted as a top sales guy at West Publishing, made over $1 million. Of course, they put me as VP of sales and executive vice president. And I went to my mentor. I'm like, why don't people like me? And well, you're too hard on them. And I said, well, I was told you treat people like you would like to be treated yourself. And he said, not in this position. You're way too hard on yourself. And if you are that hard on other people, everyone's going to hate you. And so I had to learn a valuable lesson that, you can't treat other people like you treat yourself. You usually are pretty shitty to yourself, especially if you're a competitive salesperson. And so we have to meet people where they're at. And one last piece of advice: value, we want to provide value, and value is only communicated in three ways: giving people more of what they like or taking away what they don't like, giving them more of what's working or taking away what's not working, or giving them more of what they know or taking away what they don't know. So, as a sales leader or an executive, I concentrate on providing value to the people that are surrounding me, because the fastest way to get to where I want to be is to have my own mentors that are already there so I can get from A to B faster where they are, but also to help other people get to where they want to be. And if I don't know where they are, I can't get them to where they want to be. And if I don't know what they like, don't like, what's working, not working, or know or don't know, I can't provide value. And all I'm looking for in my conversations as a leader is, would it help you if? Suggestions and questions. Would it help you if? And this process allows me to be an appreciator, someone who adds value to everything I see, touch, feel, believe, and think.
I really like that. Would it help you if? That's awesome. And most of us, like you said, are really competitive in this space. And the having a lot of fun part can be really hard, especially when you're trying to get somewhere that you're not at yet. And high performers, even people who aren't high performers, often forget I have to enjoy what I'm doing during this whole journey. How do you stay disciplined and driven while still having fun?
Time. I practiced how much time am I spending in interference with. So I'm very good at categorizing how this all happens. So we are uncertain about something and we're competitive, and we respond with the ego, which gives us these things that get in our way: a need to be right, a need to be separate, a need to be offended, a need to be inferior, a need to be superior, a need to be anxious, frustrated, angry, worried, resentful, guilty. These feelings are actually what stops us from getting to where we want to be. It limits our own self image. And so, what I teach is, how much time am I spending in those needs of the ego because I'm uncertain, because I'm afraid? And that's what the ego's there for: when we're afraid, we're uncertain. It's not a saber-toothed tiger anymore that's walking by a cave. It's a lot harder to decipher what we're afraid of. But the key is this: to understand free will. See, when I have a need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, or resentful, I use one free will: I stop. Now, it sounds simple to stop, but the simple things to do, like saying thank you, are simple not to do. So I'm always double downing on anything that's simple that has great impact. Gratitude, simple, very hard to do. Stopping, when you're in the ego based response, get in an argument with your spouse or your intimate other and try to stop while you're in the middle of an argument. It's simple to do, but it's simple not to do. And so I literally have talked to myself with my wife before, going, don't respond. Don't respond. Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. Shut the fuck up. Oh my God. And I keep in my head, I'm like, stop, stop. You're going to ruin everything. You're an idiot. But, it's like the monster at the end of the book with Grover, still turn the page, and you keep turning the page. Anyway, stopping is so crucial because it allows you what? To remind, remember, and recollect your power. God, What do you think you remind, remember, and recollect with? So I stop, I breathe, I drop down to God, to center. Now I can roll into my divine direction. My mom, like your Gabe, also taught us one other thing. If you're on fire, if your mind, body, and soul are on fire, you got to stop, you got to drop, and you got to roll.
And you got to roll. Okay, so let's switch gears here. Let's talk about personal branding. Let's talk about media because, you know, I was crickets on social media. I was an operator. You know, I was running a company. I was building business. I was, you know, focusing on the company. And the reality is now in the world of social media, if you're a founder or you're a CEO, let's talk to our executives today. You got to be creating content, and there's no one better than you, right? You got books, you got podcasts, you have speaking engagements, you have an amazing social media following. Was that intentional from the start? Did it evolve? Like, what's the strategy about creating a brand and how well you've done it, and how can we advise these new founders that are listening today?
Rob is blessed to run the most notable sports agency in the world. They made the movie Jerry Maguire about our firm. So I built brands about human beings. And I built it in a different era where you played quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys or the Houston Oilers or the San Francisco 49ers. You were the first pick in their draft, or maybe you were the biggest bust in the draft. We represented them all. And I understood that a brand was about community. That's why we required every one of our clients to give back to charity, or we wouldn't represent them, because the best way to build a community was to give back to your community. So when we went to renegotiate the more valuable second contract, we had the advantage that the community did not want to trade Warren Moon. The community did not want to trade Steve Young, Troy Aikman. They didn't want to. And so there was an added value and pressure to ownership that we could make more money for our clients by building community. So when I realized through a great partner of mine, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I didn't know who he was when I met him in the Nike lounge and asked his brother, people got excited 11 years ago, Super Bowl, almost exactly. Oh shit, Gary V's here. And I'm like, who does he play for? To AJ Vaynerchuk. He's like, what are you talking about? This is how little I knew. But Gary told me a new way to build community. I was doing a radio show that was syndicated called Sports Blender. And he said, Dave, you can build a community on a podcast, on Instagram. And I'm like, I'm almost 50 years old, man. That's not for me. Plus, there's 200,000 podcasts. Why would I do that? Right. And he laughed and he said, because it's the best way to build a community that's aligned with your frequency. And that resonated with me. And so I started to do everything I could in person, on the phone, via email, which is my number one thing today, building an email community, because quantitatively it's the most stable and has the most value, and then social media. And so for me, I want to provide content in two different ways. There's the authentic content that is aligned with my brand. So don't do business with dicks is actually a little bit non-authentic, but the subtitle of remove toxicity and surround yourself with positive influence is authentic to my brand.
Right.
But the book is at my essence. And so you want to make sure you're aware of the authentic brand, but all the content you create needs to be you, your essence. And that is what's going to attract the people that are at your essence. It's also going to repel the people that are not at your essence, who will protect you from the other people that are not at your essence, because those people will attack you and call you an idiot and tell other people, oh my God, Dave Meltzer thinks you can talk to water and change the molecular structure of water. And they're going to be like, oh my God, he's an idiot. Those people never like Dave Meltzer. But you know what those people do is when they tell people Dave Meltzer's an idiot because you can talk to water, and they say, no, actually, I believe that. Now they have recruited somebody that never knew who you were, never would buy your books. And all of a sudden they're like, I want to learn more about David Meltzer because he's at my frequency. And so I have a 4-step process that I help executives with. I capture the content at their essence and authentically. I modify it per all the different platforms, in person, on the phone, via email and social. I have a bigger network to help them amplify it so more people are aware of it. And then most importantly, I create a social silo so that all the systems work in your favor. That someone, all my team and everyone I ask them to do is say, "Do you know David Meltzer?" And most of the people say no. And then they say, "Here, have you seen this video on whatever platform it is?" And if it resonates with the person, they go down the David Meltzer rabbit hole. The systems say, "Oh my God, we have somebody that's interested in our platform. We need to feed them more Dave Meltzer for free." And all of a sudden, those people are like, "Holy crap, I need to be in Dave Meltzer's neighborhood, his community." And two, David Meltzer's everywhere. So I love the fact that, 7.5 billion and more people don't even know who I am, but there's a few million people that think I'm everywhere. That's mathematically
Right.
impossible, but that's what I want.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's awesome, and your personal brand is massive, and although you think some may not know you, so many do know you, and you're so recognizable, which is so cool, and a lot of people are trying to build that personal brand, but then they start burning out. What's your advice on how to do this and not make it feel fake for yourself?
Figure out what you're doing to interfere with it. Anytime you feel burned out, you have infinite amount of energy. And so if you feel, so I'm 58 years old. I'm just getting over, like I said, a stomach virus. I still have more energy than everybody around me. Why? Because I limit the amount of time I interfere with the infinite amount of energy. I have professional athletes that shadow me. They're sleeping in the back of my car. They're in way better shape. They're way younger. They can't hang with me because they're on arguments with their girlfriend. They're worried about this. They're guilty about this. They're all these different things are interfering with this unbelievable infinite amount of energy. So if you feel burned out with anything, stop looking at why you're burned out. Look at what are you doing to interfere with the infinite. So, are you, you know, separate from what you really want to be? Are you spending too much time on it? Right? You just got to be consistent. One of the mathematical things that everyone should learn about time: 2 minutes a day is worth 2 hours on a Saturday. So it's much more important to be consistent than it is to, I call it the extra milers versus the empty milers. The extra milers go the extra mile every once in a while. And then they use that to justify whether or not where they want to be. Where the empty milers are committed every day for a minimum amount of time to get to where they want to be. And if you don't believe me, think of the kids who study Spanish. I've never met a kid who studied 15 minutes a day Spanish that didn't get an A. I know a ton of kids like me who studied 15 hours before the test and did not get an A. That's what I do with my non-negotiable. I do with sleep. I do with family. I do with faith. I do with finance. I do with my health. Minimum amount of time every day, 7 days a week. I do have exemptions and exceptions, but I never double down on the losses. If I miss one day, the amount of time I'm committed to, I make sure it's a double priority the next day.
I love this. Okay. So you're the ultimate deal maker, right? You've created incredible deals, amazing partnerships, business relationships galore. What were those red flags back in the day that you've seen now in hindsight that you really missed when you were younger? And that we can hopefully clear those up and clear those blockers up for some of the audience members today.
Well, I think it's okay to use that word younger because we have to align with timing and risk tolerance. So I would do business with people that weren't aligned with my values because at a younger age, I was taking bigger risks. And so I put myself into positions of higher risk with the wrong people, wrong ideas, wrong situations. But I think the bigger lesson beyond the reality that you have to do that at a younger age is just understanding the amount of importance of trusting and vetting, not just trusting. See, when I change my perspective of trusting someone by asking uncomfortable questions, by calling references, by asking to see W-2s when people tell me how much they made at a previous job, I felt uncomfortable. And what happened when I was young is I knew that guy was exaggerating. I knew he was lying. And I didn't ask the questions because I felt uncomfortable. And then I blamed him when I found out he was exactly who I thought he was. But I took the risk because I figured in the end, it'll be fine. I can handle it. No, you need to trust and vet people. Vetting people is a form of trust. It says this: I trust what you say so much that I'm going to explore it to make sure that we haven't miscommunicated it in any way, because I trust you're trying to tell me the truth, but we're human beings and I may not have heard what you said correctly. And so by me asking uncomfortable questions and me checking out the facts that you articulated to me, I'm actually complimenting you that I trust you, that you're worth the time to explore this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Trust is so important, but do you think it's possible that once you lose trust in somebody or something that you can rebuild that?
Yes, I do. Really good people that are desperate do shitty things. I'm one of them. I'm one of them. And so just being humble that I am more cautious to give someone a second chance, will not give a third chance. But I think people can learn from their lessons. And I want someone, when they make a mistake, whether it was intentional or not, that was hurtful or harmful to me, I want them to be gracious. I want them to be forgiving, and I want them to be accountable. If they can't tell me the lesson they learned and they don't take accountability, no second chance. But if they come to me and say, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I was in a place. Here's what I learned, and I'd like a second chance, an opportunity to work with you again," gladly, I'll give you that opportunity. I will have a very short leash on the trust and vet side of things. And fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me three times, I'm an idiot. So I stay away from the third time for sure. But everyone should get a second chance with me as long as they're gracious, forgiving, and accountable.
I love this. So you're mentoring people from every walk of life, college students to C-suite executives. Is there a common trend that you're seeing, people are making mistake-wise, regardless of them being super successful in their career or just starting off?
Yeah, and I think as a mentor, a coach, and a teacher, you got to have buckets, right? I have everything for free, which 90% of the people in my community get free stuff, free books, free training, free lives, free Q&A, ask me anythings, live meetups. Then having group things that are less expensive. Then I have a wait list for one-on-one. Then I have business advisory and consulting and investing, which is where I make the money to pay for all the free shit. And so to understand that you need to provide people what they can afford to help them is so important. And to have those buckets to help them, to me, has been a powerful part of this common denominator. And here's the common denominator: all I'm concerned about is, can I help you with the desire that you must be what you can be? And to bring this full circle, right? This is about the hard stuff. There's one common denominator of all successful people. I've worked with the billionaires, the millionaires, the entrepreneurs, the biggest celebrities, entertainers, and athletes in the world. The biggest, most successful one. Only one common denominator. They all have a desire that they must be what they can be. And therefore, they're not going to quit. They're going to keep pushing on and learning lessons. They know that things happen very slowly, then all of a sudden, they know that the hard shit is evidence that they're going to be protected, promoted, loved, and perfected, and it's not punishment.
I love it. So I have my one last question, because we're in the first impression business, right? You know our company. We make millions of first sales calls to strangers to get them interested in whatever our product offering is from our clients. How important, like I always say, first impressions are everything. Is that true? How important is it to make a solid first impression?
It's so important, right? Because people formulate their opinion in the first impressions. And so you're
Yep.
working at a detriment. It's like an open mind. I tell people all the time, there's too many people that we have accessibility to, that why are you dealing with a closed mind? Right? It takes 1,000 times the energy to re-engineer a closed mind than it does to work with an open mind. So that first impression, it takes 1,000 times the energy to re-engineer your first impression. And so by being kind to your future self is the best way we guarantee the best and highest self, or the first impression that we desire, that makes everything more statistically successful, everything more efficient, everything more effective. And so first impressions are essential just in the math of reengineering a closed mind or reengineering a previous conceived, unaligned personality impression.
Incredible. And thank you so much for everything. This has been such a great show. We're so excited to get this out. Where's the best place for people to find you?
I really appreciate everyone. There's two ways. One, just Google me. I'm everywhere. David Meltzer, beloved servant. Or I personally like email. So if you would email me and let me know if you buy my book, you don't got to prove it to me. I'll send you the rest of my books. I'll sign them, send them, pay for shipping, pay for the books. Let me know. I really want a lot of people to read this book. It'll change your life. But if you need anything, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Put my email in the notes. Everybody, I answer my emails myself. I can't say that about every platform I'm on, but my email, I'm very good at it. And I will answer you directly, david@dmeltzer.com, or just Google my name or ChatGPT my name, David Meltzer.
Awesome, David. Thank you so much for your time. From everyone listening, please keep doing the hard things, and we will all see you on the next one.